I'm sure you know this, but Freddy's is the main franchise of the Five Nights at Freddy's series. Big shock. A restaurant chain first and foremost that's spread out into other entertainment venues and other locations. Plenty of locations. Both those licensed by Freddy's, bought out by Freddy's, or spin-off chains of the Freddy's brand. And while the reputation of Freddy's always consistently stays dirt low, the successes of its many pizzerias are consistently sky high. Despite the deaths, disappearances, inflated prices, low-quality food, and bare minimum effort, Freddy's is able to reopen with a new establishment every couple of years despite the fact that almost every closure accompanies some huge PR disaster. But of all the businesses shown in the games, which is the worst and which is the best? Which of these restaurants are worth having a birthday party at, and which of them gave Fazbear Entertainment its sordid reputation? Well, today I'm planning on attempting to answer that question. I will be going into the diner, pizzerias, and more that we are aware of and ranking them accordingly. I'll be scoring points based off of the factors most important to the image of Freddy's. The food, mostly the quality, but factors like the variety will be taken into account. The entertainment, animatronics and the like. And the games. An arcade is a standard part of any Freddy's business. Each business will be getting 1 to 5 points on each, and we'll be using that to tally a score. There will also be a 1 to 5 point danger rating, but that will subtract from the score. We might also add or subtract a point at the end if we know any perks or huge issues that don't fit into any category, or need to be mentioned separately. Now, many of the establishments in Fnaf have only been brushed over or alluded to, so we will be taking some guesses, making some assumptions, and occasionally using alternate material to fill in what gaps we can. So let's get started. What is the worst, the best, Freddy's or Freddy's adjacent pizzeria? And let me clarify now, I'm using the term pizzeria as a broad term, like restaurant, basically. Some of these locations aren't pizzerias, technically, but I'd rather include them all. Or as many as I can. Starting with our first non-pizzeria pizzeria, Fredbear's Family Diner. By all accounts, the beginning of Freddy's restaurant chain, not counting Fredbear's singing show since there's absolutely nothing known about it. The diner was opened by Henry and William Afton, the latter who later went on to single-handedly kickstart and largely contribute to Freddy's staggering death toll. Open through the 70s and 80s, the location wasn't nearly as advanced as future ones, but was successful regardless. First, the food. In the Silver Eyes book, Charlie expresses that the pizza at the diner, like at Freddy's, was good but greasy. She actually mixes the two up, so it's safe to say that the quality was probably close enough to being the same. And while that can be nostalgia talking, considering that Fredbear's only had 2 mascots, then tables and a bar, it's likely that the food was a high priority. It was the restaurant that was probably the most restaurant-like. Because of that, I think I'm going to give Fredbear's full marks on the food, because really the food was the selling point, and most of it was likely pretty good, great quality. 5 stars. Entertainment. Now, the performers at Fredbear's Family Diner consisted of 2 Springlock suits, Fredbear and Bonnie, who could be worn or could perform on their own. How fantastical, but also how rather basic compared to the animatronics we will see later. It was a marvel of technology, ignoring the inherent risk, but it was still 2 similarly colored characters doing mild tricks, talking with the audience, and dancing and singing. It doesn't hold up too well compared to what came afterwards. 2 stars. Literally. Games. Now, this is one of the only Freddy locations that was never said to have an arcade. In Fnaf 4, the restaurant that looks likely to be Fredbear's Family Diner does not have one, and in the Silver Eyes, an arcade is never mentioned, as far as I remember. So, unfortunately, the diner was lacking in the games department. This makes sense considering the time period, but sets it back when compared to the other businesses. 1 star. Danger. As you may know, Fredbear's Family Diner was the first known business where murderer William Afton was involved. However, despite that, the danger was marginally lesser than later on. Again, it was at the beginning of his stint, before he got really confident, and we don't know of any incidents such as the missing children incident that occurred there. But Afton wasn't the only thing to worry about. As I've mentioned, Henry and Will were using dangerous spring lock suits and hiring teenagers to use them. Adding this together, I'm going to take... I'll undershoot it and give them 2 stars for the danger rating. There was very present danger at Fredbear's, both from the finicky spring locks and from the madman wearing them, and there were at least a couple of confirmed deaths there. However, compared to later locations, this is really just a drop in the bucket. Perks and detractions? Well, the main perk and detraction here is the bar. The diner was the only Freddy's known to serve alcohol, and that is absolutely a double-edged sword. Sure, people might have more fun with liquor involved, but you also have to risk rowdy patrons. So I'm going to say that they kind of cancel each other out. So rounding it off, Fredbear's Family Diner comes up with 6 stars. Not bad for the earliest location. Really, it's held back by the subdued entertainment and lack of games, which was improved upon in later businesses. Will the Freddy's restaurant proper be able to beat that score? Let's find out. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the most well-known restaurant and the one with the most varying descriptions between games, books, movies, short stories, with the consistent details being that it was a successful pizzeria that housed the classic original characters, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. Now, because we almost always see this pizzeria in a closed state or getting secondhand descriptions of it, or it has some sort of rotating details, such as in the short stories, I'm going to focus my attention on what I think works as the best example of the pizzeria that we know of, and that's the version of it shown in Into the Pit, the game, which really was the only time we see the pizzeria open. Well, in a ball pit flashback sort of thing, but still. Technically, Into the Pit, the books, the movies, they're not all the same continuity as the mainline games, but since some stuff does carry over, I don't think it would be too outlandish to take some of the information we get from those to use to fill in the gaps of what Freddy's might have looked like in its salad days, especially since the version in that game was pretty impressive. So let's dive in. Starting with the food. From everything we've seen, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza's pizza was considered pretty good. It was right at the beginning of the upcharge era, but still before the extreme amount of cheapness kicked in, and between books and games, and what we've seen, the comments on the pizza go back from some saying it's good and cheesy, and I believe one short story saying it was kind of bland. I'm going to assume that it's not as good as the diner, but still pretty good at this point. 4 stars. Entertainment, the classic Freddy's band. Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, and Foxy, with Foxy being occasionally out of service. And apparently Foxy having a mechanic where he used to run into party rooms? There is a reason why Freddy's kicked off like it did, and why kids loved the animatronic mascots. And even watching them throw it down on stage, well, at least Into the Pit. They're the basic standard of the band, but they worked. I'm gonna just give it 3 stars, not because they're bad or mediocre, but because they're the baseline of what a Freddy's band should be. Games. Freddy Fazbear's had a great arcade if we're going off of Into the Pit. It looks extremely snazzy for a simple pizzeria. While not having a prize corner, it did have a prize vending machine, meaning that the tickets were able to be swapped out for prizes. The thing is, Freddy's Arcade, even in Into the Pit, isn't the most amazing arcade in the world, but it is extremely flashy and fun looking. So I'm gonna be generous and give it a 4. Danger. So Freddy's was really when the danger amped up, leading into the MCI, which did eventually lead to its closure. The restaurant was dangerous. Between the MCI, the haunted animatronics hunting night guards, and the staff rules about covering up deaths and disappearances, it really escalated from what was going down at the diner. And remember, the MCM happened over a period of days, and nobody stopped it. Okay, I put down 4 stars, but I think I'm going to give it 3 stars for a more fair assessment, because there are restaurants much more dangerous than this location, and just giving this one all 4 stars is going to leave the bar a little wonky, taking away 3 stars. Perks and detractions, I'm going to add on a designated perk point because this is the original. That gives Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the original classic location as we know it and conglomerated between various media but mostly Into the Pit, an 8. Everything improved from the diner except the safety. Okay, if I'm going to be entirely honest, I noticed when I started the ranking that due to this being the trademark Freddy's location, I was giving it more generous scores because of that, and I tried to tone them down to a more realistic level, because while this is the classic Freddy's, just giving it high marks because of that wouldn't seem fair. But moving on. Now, unlike the Fnaf 1 location, I decided to go ahead and treat the Fnaf 2 Game Pizzeria and the Fnaf 2 Movie Pizzeria as being different locations, because they are so radically different. Just look at them. One of them had a boat ride, one had the world's smallest carousel, and we'll be ranking them separately, starting with the Fnaf 2 Pizzeria from the games, which existed before the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza we just covered, and was a new and improved restaurant that attempted to make safety a priority with having animatronics that could recognize faces, recognize danger, and protect the children while giving them a safe place to have fun. With shiny new animatronics and a bigger location, it was on the path to being something special. But was it? Well, let's see. Food. As for the food is, well, we don't really know. We'll have to judge it based off of the... Where's the kitchen? What? Where is the kitchen? There is no kitchen. So how do they serve food? They have tables. They have 4 party rooms. Chica says, let's party, not let's eat. But there must be food. The only possibility is that FNAF 2's food is shipped in from elsewhere and they don't serve much of it. I think I'm just gonna have to dock points from that. 2 stars, since there probably is food. Entertainment. The animatronics this time around are colorful, clean, and plentiful. With 3 animatronics on stage, 1 little gremlin set up over in the play area, 1 station in the prize counter, and 1 hands-on take-apart and put-back-together attraction that is likely in constant pain. And because the animatronics are deemed safe, they are allowed to walk around during the day, meaning that they have more interactivity than the old ones. Even the puppet is depicted as handing out gifts. I think this earns 4 stars, at least. Games. So I hit a weird spot here when I started looking at the cameras and realized that, I can't see any arcade cabinets at the pizzeria. But apparently they are there, so I'm either missing a camera or there's just not a lot of them. There's also a little carousel, but it looks like it can only fit like small kids and not a lot of them. Unfortunately, I think I can only give a 3 here. I really considered a 2, but I doubt that it would be that much of a step down from the old location, so let's assume those machines are here and hidden and give it a 3. Danger. Unfortunately, yes. Ignoring the mangle situation, the group of still active broken bots in the back, and the fact that there was at least 2 incidents that resulted in either death or dismemberment. One being a situation where someone used one of the suits, and minigames showing bodies scattered around the building, and the other being the assumed bite of 87. Let's put it this way. For a business touted for its animatronics built to protect kids, they didn't, apparently. And since this was also during the assumed peak of Afton's murder spree after the missing children incident, I have to at least knock off 3 stars. Keep in mind as well, this happened in a singular week. Oof. No perks or detractions this time. That leaves the FNAF 2 Pizzeria with a score of 6. This seems low, and it is. And it really comes down to 3 things. The higher danger due to the 2 incidents, and the security bots that don't work. The lack of a kitchen nailing the food score, and the arcade being largely obscured. That's not to say that it was an awful location. It scored the same as the diner while having kind of the exact opposite problems of it, mostly. But, it kind of just wasn't what it could have been. But will the movie pizzeria fare better? Moving on to the FNAF 2 Movie Pizzeria, also known as Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Another one. Unlike the FNAF 2 Game Pizzeria, the movie's version is definitely a lot more visually grand. And due to it being a movie, we do get to see it in action, even if it's only for a couple of minutes. A lot of things are different from its game counterpart. The positions of certain animatronics, the stage setup, what attractions are there, the size of it, the arcade games. It really is more impressive on all fronts. Starting with the food, unlike the Game Pizzeria, this one does have a kitchen. I have heard secondhand, so take this with a grain of salt, that there's a part in the novel adaptation that says that the pizza is subpar. And considering that there's a full pizzeria, and the kitchen's empty enough for Afton to wander around inside with the snatched kid, I'm just going to give it a 3 and call it a day. I really won't be sourcing the movie novel past this point, both because I haven't read it and due to some conflicting stuff in it that doesn't align with the actual movie. But I'll spare you that funny anecdote for another day. The pizza looks like pizza, 3 stars. Entertainment. Well, the puppet's on stage, so I gotta give it 5 stars. I'm kidding, but there is a sizable band of animatronics and shows that work in more special effects, like opening floors and moving stages. All good, all good. We also know that there were toys to interact with the animatronics as well, so you could talk with them without even having to get that close. I'm gonna go with a 4-star rating like with the game's counterpart, but I think it has perks in different locations. Speaking of the games, the restaurant has a plethora of arcade machines. It also has a carousel that looks a little more appropriately sized for children to ride, and a rideable attraction, that being the boat ride. And also a prize counter for tickets to assumedly be exchanged for prizes, like the original game. It's pretty standard fare, but I'm going to boost it up to 4 stars just from the rideable attraction alone. Danger. 4 stars. Let me tell you why. Because while only 1 death was reported at this location, at the beginning of Fnaf 2 we see William lure a kid in broad daylight into the back, and had Charlie not intervened, William would have killed him. That amount of boldness in a packed pizzeria is telling me that this is not the first time this happened. There's no way. Afton was even effective at knocking that kid out. And he didn't get caught. This means that pizzeria was an excellent hunting ground. There likely were more kids who were snatched and killed that we simply don't know about, and the fact that nobody caught on makes it especially dangerous. Perks and detractions, I'm going to give it 1 perk point for the boat ride. It's very cute. That gives the FNAF 2 movie's location an 8. Very flashy, looks like it would be a ton of fun, but the danger drags it down, and there is very obvious danger here for the reasons I laid out. You'd think it'd be hard to get above 4 stars of danger, let alone get 4 stars of danger. Think again. Circus Baby's Pizza World, a successor to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza opened by one of the former owners, and then closed almost immediately afterwards. But let's take that day it was open and mix it with the revamped location as shown in the 4th closet and rank this pizzeria. What we know. It was very much like Freddy's, had a similar structure, at least having party rooms separated from the front room, served pizza, cake, and ice cream, and had an animatronic band with some dirty secrets hiding inside. But at the very least, headliner Circus Baby could sing, make ice cream, blow up balloons. She was a one-clown entertainment machine. She would have single-handedly drawn in crowds. But how does the pizzeria hold up on its own? Let's get to the rankings. Food. We don't know much about the food, but I'm just gonna bank on the Freddy's comparison and assume it was about the quality of the last successful Freddy's and give it 4 stars. That might be a bit generous, but it seems fair enough. Entertainment. We have the Funtime Band, a band of animatronics made to especially be eye-catching and distracting. They're shiny and new. They have newfangled gadgets, like the ability to make ice cream, and the balance to not fall over when spinning on tiny toe tips. But while they are quite impressive, they are not nearly the most impressive animatronics we're going to see. They're actually still on the upper basic side, so I'm just going to be giving them a good, healthy 4 stars. Games. There's also another reason I wouldn't be giving them 5 stars, but I'll get to that in a minute. Games. While not stated in the games, the 4th closet's reopened Circus Babies is said to have a good deal of arcade games and a big ball pit and climbing structures that lead into it. And tunnels. This is, if I'm wrong, the only Freddy establishment with a confirmed climbing structure with the tunnels and monkey bars and stuff. Not to mention that there's a mirror maze too, and a rideable attraction in the form of a tilt-a-whirl looking merry-go-round. Or, in the words of badly translated Carlton here, a slide-a-swirl looking slope tornado. There's so much stuff. Because of that, I think I can give it a 5. There is a location with more games, but this is a pretty good fare. Danger. High. So, this whole place is just a cover for the murderous animatronics to kidnap kids and then cover it up. They are quite literally programmed to do it quietly and without being noticed. And had the place not immediately closed, there is no doubt that they would have successfully whisked away multiple kids without being caught, and could have likely dealt with any witnesses. 5 stars detracted. Perks and detractions. I gotta take a point away just for the fact that the business literally closed one day in. While saying it was due to gas leaks, it was actually because William's daughter was killed, or is implied to be the reason. The fact that the business was so unstable that he couldn't stop that from happening doesn't bode well for it. So I'm giving Circus Baby 7 stars, which is obscenely high for a location that was clearly made to kill kids, but what it lacked in morals and safety, it made up for in a jungle gym and Ballora. Next up, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. Not to be confused with Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, this is a location that was opened in Pizzeria Simulator that doubled as both a thriving establishment and a giant oven to burn the remains of Freddy's monsters to death. And it mostly succeeded in that endeavor, but how did it handle the job of being a pizzeria? Food. We have no idea what the food was like. So I'm going with the standard 4 stars since I gave it to the original Freddy's and Babies. I think that's fair enough because despite the business also not having a visible kitchen, it at least allows you to buy plates, so let's assume there is one behind one of those doors. 4 stars, probably good enough, probably giving it too many points on that. Entertainment. Now the entertainment is where the pizza place outdoes the original Freddy's and Circus Babies, because there are a lot more animatronics, and from what we can imply in the gameplay, they are routinely upgraded and switched out. The rock stars, Funtime Chica, El Chip, there's even non-performing animatronics such as the security puppet, and even the storyteller Candy Cadet, who I count. And none of these animatronics are looking to kill you. Well, except Lefty, but I don't think anyone was that obligated to put Lefty on stage. I was kind of between a 4 and 5 star rating, but I think I'm going to bump it up to a 5 because there are so many animatronics. Despite them not being allowed to walk around and interact with guests, I think the sheer number of them and the good quality condition of most of them counts. Games. There's plenty of games at the pizza place. From arcade machines to skill games to rideable rockets and spinning attractions to ball pits and climbing structures, plenty of stuff to entertain kids, and all of them have the ability to be upgraded to be safer. So 5 stars. Danger. Now the danger is a tricky one because while you can technically adjust your risks and what you purchase, there's always an inherent risk because there is a maze filled with extremely dangerous murderer animatronics directly below the building at all times. And while they can sneak in, there aren't any deaths at their hands that we know of. Still, there is a clear risk factor there. And there is with the rides as well. Some of the more deteriorated or secondhand equipment also, and Nedbear. I'm deducting 3 stars for the danger. If only because Afton being there is such a risk. Perks and detractions, I was originally going to detract 1 point because the whole cover to burn a bunch of animatronics thing, but taking into account that I'm ranking the restaurant aspects and none of the guests actually got burned, and I don't count Afton as a guest, I think I'm not going to detract a point for that. And that gives the pizza place 11. A very healthy score. It's clear this business was made with the intention of bringing Freddy's back from the dead for one last grand hurrah. Had it been a real establishment without killer robots or built-in burners, it would have been a roaring success. It also would have had to last longer than a week, but hey, that seems to be on par with some of the other Freddys. Next is the Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. The Pizzaplex is the largest, flashiest, most amazing pizzeria of all time. No, not a pizzeria. A mega-sized entertainment complex with multiple restaurants, multiple attractions, numerous bots at your beck and call, and games as far as the eye can see. It is an incredible location, and on looks alone seems to be the best Freddy's has to offer. But it has a dark side, and those involve shady dealings and corner cuttings. So let's take a look at where it matters most. Starting with the food again, the Pizzaplex has a ton of food of various kinds. Pizzeria fare like pizza, fries, salads, more extravagant fare like sushi and Thai food, concession stand fare, bakery goods, loaded baked potatoes. It's a scrumptious buffet. The only issue is that the Pizzaplex has 3 rules for food preparation.
Cheap, cheap, cheap.
Flash baking foods, many entrees basically being microwave meals, topping dispensers, not even fresh toppings. While the Pizzaplex has a lot of options, most of the love and effort has been stripped away. And by that I mean the automation likely loses fresh flavors, so I'll give it only 3 stars. Entertainment. The Pizzaplex's main band is the Glam Rocks, a group of cutting-edge animatronics who don't just perform, but are capable of thoughts and feelings, allowing them to have bonds, deep conversations, and be as alive as any human. And not only that, but they're not the only working bots at the Pizzaplex. There's the gigantic DJ working up in the West Arcade, the charmingly overbearing daycare attendant in the daycare, and even staff bot performers at the Fazbear Theater. When it comes to the stage show, there's plenty to talk about, plenty to see, plenty of stages and screens and lights and animatronics who you can shake the hands of and then immediately wish they would adopt you. 5 stars. Games. I won't get too into detail because there's not much to say except that there are 2 giant arcades, go-karting, mini-golfing, laser tagging. There's plenty of stuff to do. 5 stars. Danger. The Pizzaplex gets 5 stars of danger. I'm going to tell you why. In one line and in one ending, Gregory says that people have gone missing at the Pizzaplex. This is backed up by a text log too. Multiple people have gone missing. The police have been turned away when they received 911 calls from inside the building, and the main security guard hacked her way in, got multiple staff members fired, or at least one, and nobody did anything or knew anything was going on. This is the one location, save maybe babies, where the killer is in total control of the entire establishment and has full free reign. Afton might have had to be a little careful, but here, Vanny and Glitchtrap could kill a birthday party monthly, and odds are nobody would even be able to investigate it or source it back to them. And even that aside, we have things like animatronics becoming aggressive during repairs, a giant sinkhole that's cracking the cement in Roxy Raceway, and likely a slew of other health risks scattered throughout the Pizzaplex. Needn't I remind you of the basement full of garbage? The flashy lights cover up a shadowy truth at the Pizzaplex, no doubt about it. 5 stars deducted, as I said. Perks and detractions, however, I am going to add a perk to the sheer scope of the Pizzaplex. Even though it's clear that there's a lot of paywalls, it is a really cool place. So the total would be 9 stars. Not as high as you might think, and I know there are going to be some people who would rank it a lot higher, and I will actually get back to that later on, because there is something that I need to mention about the Pizzaplex specifically involving its place in this ranking. But for now, that's where I'm going to leave that, and let's keep going. Next up is Jeff's Pizza. Jeff's Pizza is the pizzeria shown in the game Into the Pit, and the short story it was based off of, and was basically just a refurbished Freddy's. And there's really 2 versions of it. The rundown failing business at the beginning of the game, and the successful and revitalized business at the best ending. I'm going to be positive and go with that one, assuming that main character kid Oswald's tinkering really ignited the place. Let's start with the food, mostly pizza. The quality is seen to have gone up significantly, and has drawn in a ton of new customers. It also looks like there's a whole bunch of specialty pizzas. Can confirm this business also has a kitchen, that's always good, and the pizzas at the end of the game are likely made fresh to order. Because of that, I'm giving it diner scores of 5, because I think the implication is that Jeff kicked it up a notch. And really he had to, because otherwise his business was going into the gutter. Entertainment. Unfortunately, this is where Jeff's is lacking, because while having a stage, there aren't any animatronics to fill it. 1 star. But what Jeff lacks in animatronics, it makes up for in an arcade that's pretty sizable for a simple pizza restaurant. Mostly thanks to Oswald fixing the place up. It even has that automated prize vending machine that, while is not as charming as a puppet, will give kids reasons to spend tokens and coins to make more tickets to win valuable prizes. It's not the biggest, most extravagant thing there, but it is no doubt successful. And it's also technically the same one that I ranked for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza earlier, so 4 stars. Danger. So while the events of Into the Pit all circle around this poorly disguised haunted ball pit in the back, the good ending seems to imply that the aggressive spirit has been vanquished, and as long as Jeff keeps the door locked, he should have it under control until some random robot breaks in and eats himself inside. The monster is gone, but still detract 2 stars because as far as we're aware, it's kinda still there. Perks and detractions, I'm gonna give 1 perk since Oswald confirms that this is practically the only place in town to go to, and Jeff's got his act together, so he's definitely going to be raking in dough. This gives Jeff's Pizza a nice 9 stars. Very nice score. All Jeff needs is a few more adjustments and he'll have a very successful business. Chica's Party World. Chica's Party World is a location that by all accounts was initially its own thing and was eventually bought out by Freddy's. Chica was the mascot of the place, and it touted a roller rink, arcade games, and plenty of food. But where does it glide into the rankings? Starting with food, we get a brief look at the food at Chica's, and it looks incredibly good. Simple, a lot of chicken, but still very tasty. Indeed, the food seems to be one of the main drawing points to the location, and just for the famous chowder alone, I can confidently maybe give it a 5 stars. Entertainment, so this is where things get complicated. As far as we know, there wasn't a band, and the mascot for Chica's Party World was seemingly never finished and delivered to them, as it's still in Murray's Costume Manor. Unless there's more than one location and more than one suit, though considering that the owners were seemingly not thrilled with the scary mascot provided, it's possible there was another mascot suit, but this is the one advertised in the commercial, so I'm assuming before it there was none, and afterwards there was either still none or this. I think I'm gonna give it a 1. Games. Chica's touted arcade games and a roller rink, and while that doesn't seem like anything too spectacular, you have to keep in mind that this was the 70s. This would be considered a pretty swell spread of activities, especially for a place where the main advertising point was the food. So I think a comfortable 4 would be good enough. As of right now, we don't know of any danger or any situations that happened at or around Chica's Party World. It is very possible that there was an event there that led to the crash we see on the chart in Secret of the Mimic, or it was because of the competition with Fredbears, and that nothing happened there. At this point, we don't know of anything happening there, so I'm only going to be detracting 1 star, but more information may come out later. Perks and detractions, I'm going to give 1 perk star because as far as we're aware, this is one of the only normal restaurants without a murder plot that conspired inside. That's a low bar there, but Chica somehow hurdled herself over it. That gives Chica's Party World a very healthy 11 stars. Now, this could all change once we get more information about the business, but for now it seems like it was a wholesome little restaurant where you could eat chowder, play arcade games, and zip around a roller rink on skates. It might not seem as glamorous as something like the Pizzaplex, but it was definitely a hot spot in its day and age. And that wraps up the restaurants I'm ranking this time. So let's lay out the lineup that was established by these specific things we looked at, the food, the band, the danger, and all, and see what we come up with. Falling in last place, we start with number 9, the Fnaf 2 location. The Fnaf 2 location from the games. While the Fnaf 2 location should be improved, and is improved in select ways, such as the number of animatronics, the confusion with the kitchen, no kitchen, the lack of visible arcade cabinets, and the fact that it doesn't even survive a week without 2 incidents, leaves it as the location most lacking. And yes, that does pain me to say because you know I'm a big fan of the puppet, but I couldn't put it much higher than this. Number 8, Fredbear's Family Diner. The original location that started it all. Fredbear's had a lot of perks, but was more so a basic restaurant than an entertainment venue. While Fredbear and Spring Bonnie were a marvel at the time, they were outdated pretty quickly, especially due to the whole death trap thing. A good start, not a bad place, but left behind. 7. Circus Baby's Pizza World. The mechanical marvels and fanciful attractions of Circus Babies can't outweigh the fact that it was a cover for a child kidnapping and killing operation. The animatronics, while shiny and new, did actively want to kill you, so it doesn't matter about the climbing jungle gym or big ball pit, it's a death trap. And how it managed to make it up to 7 on the list, I have no clue. 6. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. It makes sense that the classic location would be around the middle area. It was extremely popular for a reason, and brought the franchise into the modern day after the diner. Well, perhaps during the diner's last lingering years. Not much to say about it, but I will remind that this interpretation of Freddy's was a bit of a conglomerate of a few sources, but mostly the Into the Pit location. I've said that about 10 times now. There are other short stories that tout a bigger building with more attractions, but in this case, I'm putting this one right here. If it was, say, the location that had the secret hidey holes where you hid all around in these tunnels, I might have popped that danger rating up to a 5, because what do you mean you can't open the hidey holes from the inside? That is a major oversight. And also kudos to no one going in and actually checking them. Anyway. Number 5, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza from the FNAF 2 movie. Being on the big screen, it makes sense that this lively pizzeria, shown at its peak in the Fnaf 2 movie, would be impressive. And it was. From the flashy colors to the splashy boat ride, it looked very cool. Anyone could imagine being a kid and having fun there. But it was held back by the very obvious danger, to where kids could and would be snatched in broad daylight. No wonder it ended up shut down. Still, love that the puppet was mostly headlining. 4. Jeff's Pizza. Jeff's Pizza, specifically the 3-star ending one, is a nice example of how a place can turn around with a little work. With tasty pizza, a pretty snazzy arcade, and hopefully an exercised ball pit, it looks like a nice place to grab a slice. Largely held back by the lack of animatronics and the still lingering risk that may be in that back room, Jeff's still looking like it could have a bright future. Number 3, Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. I know there's going to be a little pushback from the Pizzaplex being in 3rd place, but it really boils down to the amount of danger this place and the rabbits who haunt it pose. Even when they're not involved, the Pizzaplex is outwardly expressed as a place that could crumble at any moment and engages in some risky business practices. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it is an incredible venue. It's basically an indoor amusement park, and if you have a fat enough wallet, you can go hog wild in this place, befriending the animatronics, playing games, and living it up. Just don't go following any white rabbits. 2. Chica's Party World. While we've only seen about a commercial and some posters, Chica's Party World looks like it would have been a delightful little establishment. Games, lots of good food, a roller rink, and an adorable mascot. Not the mascot suit, the cartoon mascot. The place looks like it would have been a hit in the 70s, and while we don't know why it fell off, I bet it would still be a lot of fun even nowadays. It could be that there was a terrible event there that we don't know about, but from what we have seen, Chica's was one of the more wholesome locations, and despite that horrendous Chica suit, the food looked super tasty. And finally, it's time for the best pizzeria of Fnaf, or of the ones that I covered. Number 1, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. The Pizzeria Simulator Pizzeria. Yeah, the giant disguised oven was an extremely successful business. And while it does somewhat depend on your actions in-game, the assumed route, where the pizzeria is a success to lure in the scrap animatronic and then burn the place to the ground, encourages you to build your business up. And we see in Ruin that a lot of those major upgrades did make it into canon, making it a location full of attractions and animatronics, including actual rides, plenty of games, and no less than 3 possible ball pits. A pizzeria that was encouraged to be safe and sanitary because it didn't have the legal protections of a normal Freddy's. One lawsuit could bankrupt them, and it really needed to survive. And because of that, things could and would be upgraded. The place would have had a rotating selection of animatronics as it rapidly upgraded itself, to the point where it might have had nearly a new band every week, from mediocres to rock stars to the top-of-the-line shiny spots around. The pizza was probably fine, though we don't know the extent of it. The decorations were bright and colorful, with lights and music and confetti. And the murderer, who had been haunting nearly every single location, and elsewise it was something adjacent to him doing it, was not running loose, but instead confined underneath it inside of the vents. While his closeness was a risk, by all accounts he was trapped down there. The pizzeria performed its due diligence in keeping him under wraps. In a way, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place was both the perfect example of Freddy's and an antithesis to its practices, while also somewhat engaging in them. It makes sense too, because while Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place was connected with Fazbear Entertainment, it was one of the only locations that was not directly controlled by them, instead controlled by Henry and the restaurateur. Making a fantastic pizza joint wasn't required, it just needed to be good enough to stay afloat for the Paragraph 4 plan. But instead, it made one of the most memorable pizzerias of all time. Mostly because it caught on fire and became the final resting place of, well, practically everyone important. But don't underestimate a pizza place where you can watch a one-eyed black bear dance on stage while choking on a puppet, fish up the world's scariest and most groovy spider out of a ball pit, and still have enough time to play Midnight Motorist. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, your winner. And that's the ranking. But do these rankings actually reflect my real feelings? Not entirely. And this is what I meant when I said during the Pizzaplex section that I needed to talk a little further. I made the ranking system specifically so it would be as non-biased as possible, and as objective as I possibly could be. But if I was ranking them based off of which ones I personally would enjoy going to more, probably the Pizzaplex would be number 1, and Chica's would be a bit down there because, alas, I do not currently roller skate. Though the food does look tasty. Really, a lot of these rankings would switch around because, well, okay, completely honest here, Circus Baby's Pizza being just a big operation to kill kids definitely should have landed it at the very bottom, at least past the diner. But the Freddy's 2 location? For being the location that spawned some of my favorite Fnaf characters, oof, it doesn't look like a lot of fun looking from the outside in. I was trying to rank these based off of a generalized family aesthetic of kids and adults who arrived there, but if I was basing this off of my own preferences, definitely the whole thing would have gotten scrambled up quite a bit. The results are really just an example of how they merit when compared on those minute details, but obviously experiences would vary. I mean, if they were real. At the very least, maybe it's given you something to think about. Like if you ended up somehow in the Fnaf universe, which pizzeria you might want to visit. Or like helps give you ideas for like if you're doing a becoming an animatronic roleplay scenario or something like that. There was a reason Freddy's became a success in universe, and why it became so notorious. And we've seen both sides of the spectrum today. I'd love to hear your thoughts and rankings, but for the meantime, thank you for watching.